what's with Clinton and her health here? Having some help up the stairs. Apparently debunking that photo means pointing out that the steps were icy. Nobody else seemed to be having such a hard time with those icy steps. If you want me to add my random speculation to the mix, there have been a lot of rumors floating around for a long, long time that Clinton likes to get smashed. The fact that these issues go back a very long way, and the pattern tends to be that she's very tired. It seems to me that my best guess is that she's drunk, or she's hungover, or something else. Like I say, whatever you want to say about the situation, nobody else had trouble getting up those stairs, right? So clearly, whatever is ailing her is substantial, right? It's not bad shoes. She's got not so great shoes. The lady here does not have any problems. It's just like, if it is icy steps, then why is it that she needs the extra help to get up the icy steps? Is it the VIP on her shirt? I don't know. I doubt it. And there's this video here. Have you seen this video? The one about the chai? This person has taken the video and slowed it down. And I think that when you look at it slowed down, it becomes very obvious that whatever she was doing there was not voluntary. I don't know what that means exactly. I do know that the fact that she recovered very quickly indicates that while it was not voluntary, it was expected. So, I do think I agree that it's not a seizure unless she has so many anti-seizure meds in her. She's just like popping them on a hourly basis kind of thing, right? Which is not safe either, right? You can't just eat them like candy. My guess, when I look at that, is that it kind of looks more like a cocaine tremor, right? And then she says, check the chai. I think that was her tongue-in-cheek way of saying that she had a reaction to something, right? And then there's the coughing. Did she cough her way through the Goldman Sachs speech? How much is it for cough? Well, considering that she writes, she's such a great deliverer of speeches, right? She writes great speeches. She delivers them. If it might be to take a little walk down memory lane there. I think that it's obvious that she's not in great health, right? But she's old, right? She will be the second oldest president behind Reagan. And Reagan ended up with dementia within a few years after. So some people think he was getting dementia near the end, right? I am opposed to term limits and everything, but I think that there should be an upper age limit on how old you can be when you run. And Clinton's getting there. The age limit for the Supreme Court in Canada is 75, I believe. Um, that would indicate that she could run one term and would be barred from running a second term. So I mean, like, I don't think that you should be restricted to 8 years, but I think that see, 75 when you're a court justice, maybe that's a little old for a president. What is a reasonable age limit for a president? You know what? I think 70 is a reasonable age limit for a president. And that would actually disqualify both of them. I'll no doubt get a little bit of hate for this, talking about our health. I think it's a valid discussion. And I would suggest that it's also a valid discussion for the other candidate, although I haven't seen any indication that his health is in question. I think that I don't like the idea of term limits, but I do think that it's a reasonable question. It's a reasonable debate. Should there be a maximum age for presidency? Or let's put it this way, a mandatory retirement age. If you set it at 70, that would mean the oldest that you could run at would be 66. I don't know, I just supported Bernie Sanders. Right? Well, he was what existed, right? I would support something like that. I'm sorry. About 9:30. I was up a little bit before 6. I actually crashed really hard last night. I finished the recitation, but I didn't get the filing done. The filing is finishing up right now. So that was another day that I wish would have been a bit better spent. But what do you do? I actually spent a large amount of the day yesterday just like sitting, staring. It's kind of weird. Felt like it. Well, it was my head. Whenever my head gets like that, I just turn into a useless mess. It was really like I felt. There were points in the day where I felt like I'd undergone a lobotomy. I was just like staring at the wall, and like I was not literally drooling, but I kind of felt like I might as well be. It was a sinus headache, and it feels like a part of your brain disappears on you. It gets better. Anyways, I'm gonna I'm just finishing up the filing in there now. 7 to 8, and I will get to listening today. That is certain. I have no concerts. That may have been the only concert that I seriously consider for August. So the only other thing I can think of is some like some emo thing, and that's gonna be experiential as well. I'm gonna listen a little more closely. It might be like if I get to a point where I finish enough, I may want to just go out for a beer. But that's what I was thinking yesterday, and it didn't work out. So we'll see how the weather turns out too, right? So all of these things. I think the next time I'm going to go out probably is certainly at this point is going to be Thursday morning. It's what, Tuesday? So I got Tuesday, Wednesday, I got 2 days here to do a little bit of listening and get ready for that appointment on Thursday morning. I guess I'll be switching into something when I get back from there. So that's yeah. Yesterday was a wash. It's a shame, but I can definitely get some. I don't want to say work because listening is not really work, but that's the plan for the day. Apparently Georgia is in play. Not because Georgia has had a swing to the moderate um, place in the spectrum, but because it appears that Gary Johnson may actually split the vote. I guess Georgia's one of those places where the Democrats could win on a vote split. They routinely get in the low to mid 40s. The other Clinton won Georgia in 92 because of Perot. Could that happen? It could. If Clinton does win Georgia, it should be a reminder, okay? The vote splitting happens not as a consequence of insolent voting bases, but as a consequence of poor political leadership. The fact that you're dealing with Donald Trump just amplifies the situation. You're going to hear people complain that, you're splitting the vote, you're going to look at your candidate, okay? Those voters are making the sane choice. You should not blame the voters that are refusing to vote for Trump and are voting for a third party instead. You should blame the party, and that means, the voters of the party as much as the leadership, in fact more so in this circumstance, for picking an unelectable candidate. Your party is not more important than your country. Your party allegiances are not more important than your appeals to basic decency and common sense. So the same thing in Canada. The Liberals tried to run crazy people that should have never been. And then you hear about, the NDP splitting the vote. Well, when you put Michael Ignatieff and Jack Layton against each other, you'd be insane to vote for Michael Ignatieff. And you should not blame the people that voted for the NDP. You should blame the Liberal Party for running an unelectable candidate. And likewise, if Clinton wins Georgia because of the split in the vote, it's just another reminder. It's amplified that much more due to the obvious unfitness of Donald Trump. And I'm not, really coming down on the other side very strongly. You don't have to go very far on my page here to see that. But it just really amplifies the point. You should never, ever, ever, ever blame voters for vote splitting. When you get a party that's suffering from vote splitting, it's the party that needs to blame itself and needs to make adjustments to build a bigger tent. Always. There's no exceptions to that. Okay? So, I'm not on that side of the spectrum, but if I was, nobody on the right should blame Gary Johnson. They should blame Donald Trump and the people that voted for him. So the Second Amendment guys over there, you never know what they're going to do. Boom, 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 boom. It was a joke. It wasn't. It was a good punchline. I tell you what it was. An excellent punchline. They say timing is everything in comedy. And I'm serious. Excellent delivery. 10 on 10. And then there's this article here at Vox talking about, how language matters. And completely misunderstanding. Okay, it's nonsense, and it's nonsense that's not worth deconstructing. Except to point out that it was clearly a jab at gun nuts. That is, it was the gun owners that were the butt of the joke. It's all these dipshit social justice types that are once again missing the point, but they're not doing it by accident, right? They will jump at every opportunity, okay? To misconstrue things, to push their authoritarian social structures, to censor what you're thinking, to try to push their morals down your throats. Any opportunity they can get. I mentioned it was excellent delivery, and it really was. No, seriously. It was the kind of line you would expect to hear in a Conan monologue, or a Daily Show takedown, or in a Seinfeld episode. Really, it was. And the takeaway is that it's increasingly clear that Trump actually doesn't feel comfortable representing his base. He doesn't want to go out there and work up gun nuts and religious crazies. You know, they sent him out there on a stage, talk about guns, and he couldn't help himself. So again, excellent delivery. Great wit. Perfect timing. 10 on 10. But to be crystal clear, and absolutely terse, Trump was stating, tongue-in-cheek, that he actually supports gun control. Dun, 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 dun. Yes, that's right, you Republicans. Your nominee is a historical supporter of gun control, and he thinks that you're insane. All you Second Amendment people, you're all a bunch of fucking insane idiots. I mean, what do you really think that Donald Trump thinks of these people? Do you think he believes in their worldview? Do you think he has their politics? Do you think he wants to ban abortion and make it easier for people to get assault weapons? Do you think he's on the side of these people? That he'll stand up for them, that that's what he wants? No. He's just a rich guy that wants to cut taxes. And he thinks all these gun nuts and Christians and all these other idiots are a bunch of pathetic, inbred losers that fell for a lot of barely strung together nonsense. And he's right. They are a bunch of pathetic, inbred losers that fell for a lot of barely strung together nonsense. He was obviously making it up as he went. Didn't believe anything he said. If you actually checked his record, which is in the public sphere and not hard to find using it, the internet, Trump, he has always supported gun control in the past. Like every sane northeastern liberal on the planet, he wants bans on assault rifles. And what he's signaling is that he doesn't like this. He hates going up there on a stage and telling you a bunch of shit about guns and God and it was like I say, comedy, it's timing, it's delivery, and he pulled that off great, right? Had nobody picked it up, it would have, just. And it would have gone over everybody's head had the media not picked it up, right? And that's probably what he was saying. I actually hope we get more of this as it becomes increasingly clear that he's going to lose. Huge. While he doesn't have a chance of winning the presidency, he can go out with a bang and give us some performance art that will last for centuries. Now, it turns out I'm not the first person that's kind of pointed this out. I'm not sure that I would have taken it to that level, But I mean, I haven't spent a lot of time watching a lot of Trump speeches, right? Like I've seen a few interviews, Like, am I gonna sit down and watch a 2-hour-long Republican debate? No, I'm an anarchist from Canada. But the last thing I want to do is watch a fucking Republican debate. You think I want to listen to Donald Trump give a speech? No. So I really haven't heard a lot, right? I'm picking most of it up from media. From little bits and pieces, you can put together context. I mean, he's not a politician, so you can read him like a book, right? And, so, I mean, like, this, but it does turn out that people have been pointing this out. Somebody that pointed this out very early, apparently, is Michael Moore. Michael Moore nailed him as a performance artist, it was months ago. They said, what did he say? He said, like, he lost him with, I think it was with The Wall. That's where, So where it wasn't funny anymore. So yeah, I mean, I'm not paying a lot of attention to what Donald Trump is saying, to be honest with you. And when I am, it's more like I'm reading something, right? Because I don't want to listen to him talk at all. How many speeches have I heard? I haven't heard a single speech. How many debates did I didn't watch a single debate? Okay, I watched some of the Democratic debates, but I'm not going to watch a Republican debate. This was the first thing that I saw that made it like what I saw often suggested that he was, like obviously not honest, right? But the idea that he's actually taking the piss, that he's actually just fucking with people, that hadn't really crossed my mind previously. But the delivery, just the tone of voice, the way he got that out, like it was like completely obvious to me that actually really was a joke. It was a joke delivered in the style of a monologue, and it was an attack on his own voters. It in no way suggested anybody should actually carry through anything, so much as it suggested that these people that I've got out here that are voting for me are insane. And that's kind of maybe my that's my Andy Kaufman moment with Donald Trump. Was right here, where it became clear that this is not serious. Or if it was serious at some point, or if he wants it to be serious, that he can't help himself. Okay. And like I say, I'd like to. He's not going to be president, but he might be, he might be the Hamlet of our times, and it's I think it would be greatly entertaining to see it unfold that way. Maybe I should. Was Hamlet really insane or just pretending to be insane? Discuss. This is weird. I'm just looking at my blog for the 9th, and I'm editing in a few parts. I just want to point. I'm going to drop this in right before the part that I'm going to try and edit over. I've noticed this more than once on the internet where I type something and I type, or this is the first time I've noticed it where I said something. And what comes out is the opposite of what I meant to say. It is on the public record that Elizabeth May is pro-life. She's a pro-life minister, and that what I'm trying to get across is that her pro-life positions are very distracting for leftists in Canada, who will refuse to vote for her due to her religious fundamentalism. That's a big problem for leftists in Canada. But for some reason, what came out in the video was that I claimed that she's pro-choice and that she supports abortion. I don't know how that happens. I do know that I do tend to have a tendency to get things kind of backwards in my head, but it happens on such a frequent basis that I'm kind of skeptical as to what it is that's actually happening there. Okay, so let's reiterate. Let's be clear. Elizabeth May is a ordained United Church minister. She is pro-life, very religious, and what I'm trying to get across is that her religious fundamentalism is a big problem on the left, and her attempts to claim that BDS is a distraction is very tone deaf. It indicates that she doesn't really realize what it is that's preventing her from breaking through, and preventing her party from breaking through, and what her party needs to do to move forwards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try something that I haven't really done before, is I'm going to try to, instead of redo the whole segment, because I like the segment, I'm going to try and just splice in little pieces of audio. So if the next segment has some cut up audio that's intentional, because I'm trying to replace um, uh, so somehow I said the opposite of what I meant to say, and so I'm trying to correct that. Again, just to be clear, because the audio is going to be cut up, what I meant to say is, and this is in the public record, it's easy to check, is that Elizabeth May is openly pro-life due to her religious views, and that is very divisive in Canada on the left, and acting as a very strong disincentive for people to join the environmental movement, which does not have anything at all to do with reproductive rights. So Elizabeth May is musing about stepping down because the party voted for sanctions against Israel, of all things. That's really sad. I mean, we just saw the NDP clamp down on this and essentially destroy themselves in the process. I think it's partly generational, but like if this is the issue, then it's time for her to step aside and let, a new generation of people with a new generation of ideas, and that understands things as they exist today, not as they existed, 75 years ago, take over, right? I've actually been saying this for a while, but I mean, this is kind of a breaking point, right? I've talked to dozens of activists on the left that have told me point blank, and I actually agree with them. I mean, I've never been in a situation where I've seriously considered voting for the Greens. I've mused about it, okay? But I've always, in the end, voted, NDP or Liberal. But I've had lots and lots of activists look me in the eye and say, I cannot vote for a pro-life minister. I cannot vote for a party that is run by a pro-life minister. I'm not talking about one or two people. I'm talking about dozens of people. If she wants to talk about things that are distracting or divisive, it's her opposition to abortion that is the most distracting, most divisive thing that the party is dealing with and has been dealing with for years. And then she talks about BDS, which is, it's a consensus position on the left. Okay, even people that don't really, people that don't think it'll work, or people that have reservations about it, it's a moral position. It's a consensus moral position, okay? And then she talks about that as distracting. No, the biggest distraction is the fact that she's a minister and she is very openly opposed to abortion rights. And this is what I've been saying for a long time, and it's like I say, it's based on I'm not a polling firm, I'm not tabulating, survey results, but I've traveled quite a ways in activist circles in Canada, and it's pretty widely stated that, people may not state it in these terms, right, because they don't want to sound like they're ageist or something, or they don't want to sound like they're being, they're opposing, they're persecuting a religious person. They want to, talk about how people should. I mean, I don't take that position. I think that religious freedom is an oxymoron, and I have no problem saying that. Okay, you're too old, go home, right? But I mean that it's the basic perception that I get from a lot of NDP supporters and a lot of Liberal supporters is that that's what the Green Party needs, is younger, more secular leadership, right? You need to get out of this, building for future generations stuff and get into just, the nitty-gritty of the economics of it. People that are more about today than about tomorrow. And with the apparent collapse of the NDP, there's really a big space for them in the spectrum. But so long as the party is run by a pro-life minister, they will not bring these people in. These people will run away. And you'll continue to get all of these, attacks on the Green Party as a right-wing party. That may sound shocking to you if you're from outside the country. But the real grassroots on the ground, the real activists, movements, they broadly see the Green Party in Canada as a right-wing party. Despite the fact that their platform is overwhelmingly left-wing, and the reason is just because of the abortion thing. Okay? So I don't want to say good riddance to her. She spent a lot of effort building this. She did a very good job in doing what she's done, and she's a good MP. She takes very good notes. She's, often, when you're confused about something, you hear the parties yelling at each other, politicking this over that. She's often a good, resource to go to. And you can trust her for these kinds of things often. But she can't be the head of a movement. Her thinking is too rooted in the past. They need younger, more secular leadership. It's 11 o'clock at night, and I'm on the brink of passing out. I wish I got more done tonight than I did. I one last day spent mostly vegging. Today was weird because it was like every time I've had days like this before where it's like I constantly had a vlog related thing to do, right? So either I was watching a vlog, or I was splicing a vlog, or I was copying and pasting, or I was waiting 5 minutes for something to finish in the vlog. I spent a little bit of time reading the news, but it was ultimately mostly just like sitting, I got started on Henry 15, the bureaucracy. I think that it's at least aligned. I think that I'm going to wake up and deal with that first. It's the first thing I'll do when I wake up, so that I can get started with listening right after I eat. Yeah, today was one more lost day. It was all vlogging, and I'm not going to have any more days like that because I'm sick of it. I gotta get some work done.